The Persephone Foundation Timeline Archives. Timeline number 009. The Eternal War. It is the 41st century. In the grim darkness of the far future, there is only war. The nations of mankind wage a constant battle against each other for reasons that have been lost to history. Now it is a war for glory, for honor, for vengeance. War is life, and peace can only be found in death. Legends tell of a time before the war, a time of peace and plenty, a time when mankind first conquered the natural world and built the great machines it now takes for granted. This era ended over 2 millennia ago, during the Great Flame Deluge. It was the first time humanity unleashed atomic flames upon the world. It would not be the last. The Flame Deluge was followed with 5 more atomic wars throughout the centuries, each smaller than the last. Slowly, the world froze as ash and dust choked the atmosphere. Much of Earth died a slow death by ice and fire, but humanity prevailed. By the 31st century, after the end of the 5th Flame Deluge, only 3 great civilizations remained. In the heart of a continent once called Europe, the mountain men of the Alps descended from their icy vaults to settle the plain below. The Chviz, as they called themselves, fought and defeated the techno-barbarians and mutated monstrosities of the European plains until they were driven back to the glaciers of the north. By the 41st century, the Chviz Confederacy is the dominant force in Europe. Far to the west, where the great empire of America once dominated the planet, the remnants of the 28th century thalassocracy of Ireland united the eastern coast and expanded westward, fighting the cannibal empires of Texarkana and the decadent machine men of Silcovalia. Using their great tract fortress cities, the Ireland dominated the continent and forged an empire rivaling Mirka itself. In the Far East, another force arose from the land of Chosun. After the Great Flame Deluge, the people of Chosun dug miles upon miles of tunnels beneath their mountainous country and opted to hide there until the time was right. Fanatically devoted to the eternal president, the Chosun people waited for centuries upon centuries. During the 32nd century, they emerged from hiding and saw an empty world ripe for the taking. By the 33rd century, the world had sufficiently recovered that the ancient horrors of war were coming back. While the last dozen wars were fought with sticks and stones, now the machine gun, the battleship, the tank, and the airplane re-emerged from the factories. In 3278, the Chviz, Ireland, and Chosun forged the Steel Pact and sought to carve the world into 3 pieces. And in 3312, they succeeded and subjugated the world. However, each knew that there could only be one empire on Earth, and so the war began. 41st century society would be unrecognizable to a denizen of the old world. There are no more big cities, and most people live as subsistence farmers until they are seized to fight on the front lines. The great tract cities have been repurposed into factories, existing only to scour the land for resources and create more weapons. These cities normally drive over spent battlefields, collecting metal to build the armies for next year. War production cannot stop, as that would mean defeat. Therefore, even those living in the factory cities are destitute. Talk of peace is treasonous, and deserting from the military is punishable by having one's entire village conscripted. Soldiers are equipped with little but a steel helmet and an automatic rifle, and the average life expectancy on the battlefield is 15 minutes. Great trenches scour the borderlands, and while the great powers have spent centuries trying to break through, they never could. The atom bomb, the invention responsible for the state of the world and the only thing that could end the stalemate, is only used sparingly as uranium is harder to come by. On the front lines, many pray for death so the misery would stop, and their prayers are answered. Points of interest. The machine empire of Silkovalia now lobotomizes Irland's prisoners and turns them into soldiers. The Visrit Republic worships the Empress of Irland as an aspect of their one god. The swamplands of Texarkana are but a shadow of their former selves, but their soldiers are still feared. The Mia have survived countless disasters and outlived countless conquerors. The Yinka were a great power until the Third Flame Deluge, where they competed with the Binosaurus technocracy. The rivalry is still alive and well. Old West African trading outposts seized by the Chviz during the War of the Steel Pact. Horrible genetically engineered monstrosities crawl out from beneath the fungus canopy regularly. The 214th Emperor's attempt to reclaim the homeland is not only geographically unsound, but has consumed the lives of 50 million men on both sides. Remnants of the Hispanic Despotate, a superpower in the mid-2600s. The Republic of Alkarth, a loyal Chviz ally. Polska Commonwealth, closest thing to a democracy in this world. The Sovietsky Soyuz, claimed to be one of the instigators of the Great Flame Deluge. Philistine city-states, heavily irradiated during the Great Flame Deluge. Kingdom of Mysia, tore down the Great Pyramids in 2743 and rebuilt them in 3628. The peoples of Inmark claim to have run from their old homeland before the ice consumed it. It is rumored that the Great Desert still holds artifacts from before the Great Flame Deluge. Centuries ago, the prophets of the West proclaimed the Ibisan Emperor to be the Son of God. All that remains of the Kungu Empire, which ruled the world until the Fourth Flame Deluge of 2867. Between the cannibal warlords, mutants, and the feral machines, no adventure is worth having here. The Zinzabir space elevator was destroyed in 2552, but its scrap is still valuable. The once proud Empire of Ifraki pledged their soldiers to the Grand Protector in Björn in 3312. The Kerguelens are home to the last independent, organized machine empire on Earth. The Iryan Empire doesn't care for Chosun's imperial cult, but they need a strong ally. The Fifth Flame Deluge was fought between the Indian empires. It has yet to recover. The Amatu claim to have had a great empire long ago. The Dagalok were fierce opponents, but the divine leader is a merciful god. The Nymphet tried their age-old guerrilla tactics against the Chosun. Their efforts were rewarded with genocide. It is rumored that the last of Earth's oil is beneath these jungles. The locals call it the Dreamlands, but it's more like a nightmare. The cannibal warriors of the Southern Isles are used as guards in Irland prison camps. Who knows what is beneath the ice? Some say a civilization dating back to the Great Flame Deluge. Others say the gods lie here, dreaming until the end of the world. Others still, a great machine empire which will conquer the earth and destroy mankind. This has been a Persephone Foundation timeline reading. Thank you for listening.